Alright, here we go. IkemenGo dialogue tutorial. I'm going to explain this as simple as I can. This is completely automated already, that all you have to do is copy and paste. So here are the instructions, and as you see, all of this information is on the IkemenGo wiki, and you can read about each of the things and how to use them. Also, when you download IkemenGo, if you look in your data folder next to your system files, you will also see another information file which explains some of the other things that we're going to be looking at. And it also has a list of what everything does in the system dev, right? So you're going to have to take some time and skim through those to understand this. This is not a tutorial on how to make intros, right? The most common thing I see with individuals who are having problems with that, you think that it's the dialogue itself not working, but it's you do not have your intro correctly set up. Maybe you do not know how to make an intro. This is not a tutorial on how to make an intro. This is how to utilize the dialogue in IkemenGo. This is not a Mugen tutorial. This will not work in Mugen. This is only for IkemenGo, right? So with that said, I am just gonna I could read this off to explain what it does, but this basically calls up what we're gonna look at, a dialogue box with the script that you write and all of that jazz. Here, I just wanna scroll down because this is as easy as it can get. This is an automated dialogue system. How you use it, you simply take the sample here, you copy it, and you paste it into your intro state, right? This first trigger is what you want to trigger it. So in this example we see here, Dan versus Dimitri, that means when Dan is fighting against Dimitri, this dialogue is going to activate. Like I said, if you do not understand these things, maybe it's something else that you may not know how to do and you're trying to jump to this step first. This is incredibly simple. All you need to do is download this, copy and paste these. So let me show you the difference between this state 191 and this state 180, right? So state 191, this is for the intro sequence when the fight first starts. So let me just read this first part. Assigns dialogue data to be displayed either right before the life bar calls the fight during the first round or the last active frame of the final round, right? These are these two examples. Right before the fight starts, the intro, SVC Chaos, KOF 13, Street Fighter Alpha, different games that have this specific type of dialogue, right? The other one, state 180, that's again Street Fighter Alpha. When you have your rival fight, after you beat them, they get up and they start talking. That's what that is. So it's up to you, to your preference. If you want one, if you want only the other one, if you want both, you just simply copy and paste each one into the respective state, and you add the right trigger that you want to activate it. You want it to be versus Ryu to activate it. You want it to be versus Terry, I don't know, whatever. You set the terms, right? And I'm just gonna go over some of the most basic things here. Text 1, text 2, text 3, text 4, text 5, text 6. These are what the characters are saying. You can make it as long as you want. You can make it as short as you want. It's up to you. You can make player 1 start. You can make player 2 start. You can make Dimitri start talking first. You can make Dan start talking first. In this example, Dan is the one initiating the conversation. Therefore, enemy Dimitri, right? So player 1, self here is Dan, right? This P1 face, this is optional if you want to use that, and I'm going to explain why a little bit later. This is, in the example that we're going to look at, is if you want the portraits to change in real time while the characters are having the conversation. That is when you would need to use this P1 face, right? And self, again, self is player 1. Player 1 is Dan, self, Dan, enemy name, Dimitri. So player 2 when you see enemy named Dimitri. You see how that links together? Whoever calls it first is self. Whoever it's activating against is enemy. Again, and this is P1 face. So this is showing that while Dan is talking, it is controlling both Dan and Dimitri's portraits together. So by the time that Dan's voice line is finished and it goes to Dimitri's, these portraits are going to change. It was organized in a way to, like, if you had multiple portraits to utilize, you could show characters having different expressions and emotions to go along with whatever text you have written. That is the purpose of that, to make it more cinematic-y, you know, more lively. So looking at that there, and again, this is literally the same. It's just after you win the round, after it's over, this will trigger. So let's look at the actual example so you can see it in action.
Die, monster! You don't belong in this world!
It was not by my hand that I'm once again given flesh. I was called here by humans who wish to pay me tribute.
Tribute? You steal men's souls and make them your slaves.
Perhaps the same could be said of all religions.
Your words are as empty as your soul. Mankind ill needs a savior such as you.
What is a man? A miserable little pile of secrets. But enough talk. How about you?
Round 1, fight.
Let's play.
It cannot be! Ah! How is it that I've been so defeated?
You have been doomed ever since you lost the ability to love.
Sarcasm.
And that was the example, right? Hopefully that made sense. And as we saw, this happened before the fight started. As said here in the beginning, right? These two things, first or final round. And then this is the one that showed after he had won, right? That is all you have to do, is copy and paste this into your states. Assuming that you have the correct states, your intro is correct, your win pose is correct, your win, whatever, is right. So now I'm going to show you. You're going to open up your system file, which is in your data folder. And then you're going to navigate towards the bottom. You can Control F dialog, and you can find the dialog definition, right? Enabled, make sure your dialog is enabled so it's on, so it'll actually work. The time you want it to start, the end time, switch time, skip time. This is the key skip, right? You could set it to whatever key you want it to be. So if you just press the button, it will not skip the entire thing, but it's like if you want to fast forward the text, right? If you don't want to wait to the text to crawl, you can also set the text speed here and things like that. Text wrap, the window, scale, different fonts. This is if you want to customize it, right? Just like I'll show you in my example how we have our unique little dialog box and things like that. You can do that for yourself if you so choose. So these are just things you can do to customize it. This is in the system def in the dialogue section. Remember, you can search dialogue and it'll be there, right? So those two things. So now let me go back here once again. I'm gonna go to my character and I'm gonna show you for one of my special intros how I have my dialogue set up. And this is the same freaking sample that we saw on the other page. I simply customize it to how I want it to work. I set my triggers, I set it so it doesn't work in the modes that I don't want it to work in. If I don't want it to work in side mode, if I don't want it to work in turns, you can set these things here. If I want it to be a certain team side, depending on which character is on which side. So if you wanted to do something like Mortal Kombat where characters, you know how they have different kind of conversational routes, like depending on what they say first, it's like that first line of dialogue that they say first, and then everything that follows is like in a set script. You can make it so depending on which character starts on what side, you can have 2 different scripts or anything like that, if you get what I'm saying. Like if Dimitri's on the left side, he'll start saying something about vampires. If he's on the right side, he'll start saying something about garlic. I don't know. You could make it so if you wanted to do that and do like go the extra mile and have 2 different scripts for something like that, you could do that. I'm just saying that because the way that this works is very easy to set that up. And as we saw, the player 1, Dan, starts talking first. How I have it set up in this special intro of Makoto versus Sean, I have Sean initiating it first. And I set my things up to the special animations that I create for my characters. So I create custom animations for all of my characters, all the special intros. So I will write my script based on what the special animation was. This is not something you have to do. It's just something that I prefer to do. I like to do. I like to go the extra mile personally to make my stuff look more cinematic. And then, like I said, I will write a script that follows along with what just happened, like to kind of continue the story or whatever. So, like I said, it's optional to you. I'm just giving you examples of how you can spice it up, and it's all to your preference. So, I have my player 2. I have the sound that they're gonna make when they say the specific things. You have your wait times. And then we're gonna look at it and see it in action. Remember, as difficult as some people may think this is, all you have to do is copy and paste the sample and modify it. That is literally it. These other things that I'm gonna show you that I've added, like adding the different sounds at different parts of the script, is completely to preference. I only do it to try to make things more cinematic. I've also added little ambience as well to mine. Like I said, that's just something that I like. And if you saw this here, this is the old dialogue system that we were using, but I modified it to be something else. I modified it to be like KOF 13 with a little white flash and a little sound that comes from that game to enhance my dialogue. So I'm going to show you what that looks like here. Give me a second. All right, so.
Oh. 松田龍が
Ready? Fight!
Yes, so that is just one example. Me, because the characters that I use, a lot of these characters do not have a lot of voice lines to use, like Sean, for example, so I have to simply make do with what exists. And I do that by finding all the voice sounds that these characters have had, and I splice them up to create different sounds, different sentences, and things like that. That is completely going overboard, but that's just something that I do for my project, and like I said, that is completely optional. There is no wrong or right way to do it. It's completely up to your preference. So once again, as I said, they do the headbutt, they back up. Sean says, ouch, maybe that wasn't my brightest idea, because that is something that I wrote to go along with what I wanted them to say in that script, following my custom animation. That is just how I do it, combining these things together to enhance the whole thing. It's completely up to you if you want to do stuff like that. I think it would be sick if you guys try to do it, but like I said, that's just what I do. So let me look again and go over it. I don't think I missed anything. Pretty self-explanatory. All you are doing is taking the sample that is on that page, you're copying and pasting it and adjusting the parameters to how you want it to be. And actually, I don't know if I went over this. I think I may have forgotten, but as I was gonna say, P1 face self, this is the portraits of Dan and Dimitri in the beginning of the video when they change in real time, right? Because they're using the SVC portraits to show the different emotions when the characters are speaking. As we saw in my example, I only have one portrait, so I do not need this P1 face at all. And if you also are only using one portrait, you do not even need this at all, this setting, right? Because you could just look in your system def. Give me 1 second to switch to that. In your system def, we have it here, P1 face sprite, and then you also go down there, P2 face sprite. You can set it default as universal for all of your characters, right? So you don't need that perimeter at all. You only need that perimeter if you're gonna have characters changing multiple expressions and things like that. So let me see, let me just go back here one last time. Okay, so as I said, IkemenGo Wiki, look under each of the sections of things that you're trying to find. Okay, let's see, this is under state controllers, new. I go down, I'm going down, ESSER, input, camera, dialogue. Click on dialogue, boom. It shows me how to use the dialogue. It explains what it is, these different perimeters, these text tokens. If I want to set the name, redirection, you can also make it like it's some other games. Like I think JoJo, where, you know, as the characters are talking, you can make them do different animations in line with what they're saying. You can be creative with it. You have a bit more control over it, a lot more than you have with the Mugen version, mind you. You can do things like that. Like I said, animation redirection, state redirection, you can make them do all kinds of different things while they are in that dialogue. It is completely up to you. You can actually also use this to make cutscenes and things of that nature. And it again explains what everything is, just like the wait tick, the ticks, the seconds that we looked at and all of that. Everything that is here in this sample, compare it to this video here. Just click on this image and it will show you these samples in practice. All right, hopefully you guys understood this. Hopefully it was helpful to some of you who have may been lost. But as I said, if this is not working for you, you may have other problems going on other than the actual dialogue system itself. So if you have any questions, be sure to ask me below. And I'm gonna be working on that other tutorial. Someone asked me about hitboxes, and I'll show you what I do with that. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace out.